You might consider yourself a lover girl or a lover boy. But do you know about Bhakti Yoga? Not all yogas are sitting there still in weird pretzel patterns. A lot of times it has to do with the mind and how you form your thoughts and your emotions. When you decide to engage in Bhakti Yoga, you are deciding to devote yourself to the act of loving, the act of seeing God in literally everyone and everything, and loving every single aspect that you see, regardless of whether or not it's a pleasure. God can be any deity. It can be any energy that you recognize. It can be any spiritual aspect that you like the name of the best. It doesn't really matter. Really, all names are an aspect of personality. And what do we worship anyway? What does it say in the Bible? God is love. So if you're already thinking about love and devoting yourself to God, Bhakti Yoga is just a way of devoting yourself to that ideal every single day and a way of forming your thoughts around it in a more disciplined way. When you begin this road of spirituality and devoting yourself to this daily practice in whatever way you can, you start to understand that God is a singularity. It is unconditional, which means there is no individual inside of that love. We are really all one. You start understanding that oneness and that sameness, and you start picking less fights between religious spheres, castes. You start to recognize the truth in every single religion. You start to see aspects of God in every single thing, in nature, in the bum on the street, in the drug addict that you're related to. The deeper down this rabbit hole that you go, you realize that separation really is an illusion. You start to understand that I signed my name in Lakesh Katie because I'm another you. I'm you in another body. We're all walking down this whole road together, and we have this connection through empathy, through our spiritual cords, through God, through everybody else. We have a responsibility to each other to show pure love. And that does not mean unconditional presence. That means unconditional love, okay? So bhakti is just a way of organizing that so we can really devote ourselves mentally to come back to source, come back to the 0 point, come back to the point of why we even started on this whole path. And what exactly is love? How does it act? How do we show it to others and keep love and boundaries with ourselves? I realized I kept breathing into the mic and it's really irritating. So hopefully this will work better. When it comes to the practice of Bhakti Yoga, okay, so I've been on this path since I learned about it in 2016, but I've always felt a devotion to the big L with love. I have paintings that I've done at 5 years old where I was just writing the word love on everything. Love, 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 love. Love has always been my purest motivator. And I'm not talking about you did something to make me love you. I'm just a being of love. And when I learned that Bhakti Yoga is a practice, it made sense to me. And I would say that is the closest thing I have to a daily practice in religion. Okay, so starting on this path, you have love in your heart, but you don't exactly see how everybody is beautiful. You don't start seeing or recognizing the sameness in everybody. That's a practice. That's part of the devotion, right? You have to train yourself to recognize pieces of yourself in everybody else, especially when you're getting annoyed, especially when there's things that you want to wring somebody's neck over, especially when you feel like you want to control them, because that's pointing out something about yourself that is yet unworked on, that's unhealed territory in your own heart. So you start to use the barometer of people's individuality as a reason to line up with sameness. Does that make sense? As a practice, Bhakti Yoga has a very rich lore in mythology and folklore. So I really encourage you to start reading about it, because it's not just something you can practice every day in your heart and in your mind. It's something that you can anchor in with historical facts and locations and metaphors that will last you forever. So I always tell people to do your own research and remember, line up with it from your core, or just learn about it as something fun. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. But for me, this path of love is my only way. This is the only way. I will operate this way until I die, because this is the way I grew up. This is the way my soul is. This is my soul. It's said of every religious practice that I know of that God created us as a way of getting to know himself. You can't realize God without realizing each other. You can't not acknowledge your own piece of divinity that God put inside you in order to be a part of his personality on this planet. That's the whole point of life itself. God gives us pieces of him in our breath so that we can be stewards on this planet and take care of each other, plain and simple. And we can't do that without love in our hearts. So this is why I've devoted myself to bhakti in particular, regardless of my mood state. The practice of unconditional love is the most gangster thing I have ever undertaken. I'm going to say that again. Practicing unconditional love is the most gangster thing I have ever undertaken spiritually. I'll do it again every single day. But is it easy? Absolutely not. It takes every single core of patience that I have. I'm sorry, I keep tapping the mic. I'm not good at this shit yet. But it takes all my focus to be a person that comes from love instead of a place that's an Aries, a double Gemini. By my default, like, I'm not a patient person and I'm not very nice. I'm kind of cold. But I go out of my way to devote myself to love so that I correct these behaviors inside myself. I have flaws. That's what makes me an individual. My flaws are there for a reason, so that I might know God better, so that I might actually work on these things and heal. We have our wounds, we have our problems for a reason, and I am so grateful for the experience. However, I hope this is the last time I reincarnate, because this planet fucking sucks. I'm going to end this now. I love you guys. Happy Tuesday.